Welcome to this webinar. Three speakers will take us through the agenda. Peter Thorne will get us started. Simon Hailstone will present Cambashi's approach to measuring the market and look at some signals from case study analysis. Then finally, Alan Griffiths will discuss market maturity, the ecosystem, and review key takeaways. So first up, we have Peter Thorne.
I'd like to say that this is a view from our office window, but sadly we're down closer to street level. For 35 years, Cambashi has been researching and delivering market intelligence from its base here in Cambridge in the UK. Our domain is information technology in a broadly defined manufacturing, production and construction sector. Our focus is software used by engineering and technical professionals. And our mission is to support rational, evidence-based decision-making across the whole cycle, from strategy and marketing planning to sales execution. So, to introduce our connected applications work, I'll look at 5 points. Like all computers, the enterprise systems used to run businesses work with digitized information. So it's always been difficult for business process automation to go beyond documents, transactions, databases, images, music and video. Integrating the real world of buildings, vehicles, equipment and machinery used to need expensive special projects. Now, affordable technology makes it cost-effective to put electronics and software into buildings, machines and equipment of all sorts. In the past, the reason to do this was function. Good controls enabled better performance. A whole engineering discipline of embedded systems grew up to put microcontrollers and software into all sorts of products. But now, connectivity adds a whole new dimension. The internet connects applications to smart products, and so the barrier between business systems and the real world has been removed. This is the world of connected applications. There's no need for software to rely on a database for information about an object. The software can read data direct and can also send commands and updates. So machines, equipment, devices, products, things of all types are back within the scope of information technology. Connected applications can improve business processes. People can create software and invent whole new ways of working. And while this change in products and equipment has been happening, enterprise systems themselves have changed. The boundary between corporate IT and the operational technology used in factories and warehouses is disappearing. The core of business systems, the system of record, is still there, but interactive systems of engagement for both customers and suppliers are transforming the way transactions are performed. Cloud technology in external data centers and also in-house adds flexibility. People access systems not only from the old dedicated workstations, but also using smartphones and tablets, and also via buttons and sensors and switches in some of the newly connected devices. New workflows are integrating the entire design, make, use lifecycle. Information technology is still the widely recognized name, but its scope and capability has changed. This is creating opportunity for software providers. Cambashi's focus on engineering software has provided our microscope to understand how engineering functions, especially in product development, have been growing their spend on, for example, tools for embedded systems development. This is an area we've been studying and reporting since the early 2010s. But as we saw the transition from smart products to smart connected products, we saw that not only was there a growing need for middleware software to handle the plumbing of connected products, but we also needed to pay attention to the connected applications, which would signal the hot areas in the market. The reality is that there's a zoo of new types of software. One example is software to optimize performance of compressors in a factory. But another example, also using Internet of Things connection technology to a smart device, is pest control, instrumented traps for humane pest control, which can also provide data to show progress of a colony on a map. For Cambashi, this is the sort of challenge we like. How can we assess this software zoo and provide evidence which will help guide business decisions? We want a structured and quantified view of the market, like this example, which shows the propensity of various industries to spend on engineering software for design and manufacturing. We've been studying this connected systems market for several years now, and a key result is our choice of connected areas as the top-level segmentation to bring order and meaning to this market's revenue opportunities. Industries and countries will come later, but now I'd like to hand you over to my colleagues to tell you more about our work and our plans.
Now we'll hear from Simon Hailstone.
Now, Peter mentioned there that Cambashi provides support for rational, evidence-based decision-making. And we're going to take a look now at what that means in the context of IoT, what we're doing to provide some meaning to this market, and how. I'm going to look at how we measure and what we measure in this new connected world, because the demands of businesses try to plan in this world varies considerably. To do that, we're going to see how we can view the scope of the market, our approaches to building a robust view of that market, and I'll conclude with some initial findings from our research. If we look at the kinds of players who are or who could be in this market, we find that they come from a wide range of sectors. Now, what those sectors are and how they interact is a little bit fuzzy right now. And here are some of the more obvious areas, but there are certainly many more adjacent sectors, the unnamed grey ones, for example relating to transportation, retail, health and disruptive startup services that are or could certainly be involved. And the IoT connected applications market is bringing all these previously discrete or relatively heterogeneous market areas into play with each other. We're at the relatively early stages of this process, and so the definition of the boundaries between these areas is still emerging. Now, Cambashi has been tracking a number of these market areas in total or in part for some time. For example, enterprise software providers we have been covering in manufacturing and construction and facilities management markets. Similarly, hardware and semiconductor providers we have been covering through our embedded software applications analysis. And industrial automation providers, we provide very comprehensive coverage of manufacturing operations management and manufacturing execution systems. Our history comes from engineering software and geospatial systems, and we have been covering these for a good many years. The latter sector, geospatial, is particularly interesting for the connected applications market, since it has done and will play a key part in connected cities and utilities and infrastructure, as well as oil and gas and mining. So our research across these industry domains, coupled with the new coverage that we have related to IoT specialists, enables us to put together a consistent perspective on the wider connected applications landscape. Now, the very nature of the future connected world requires that companies that have previously been competitors or customers of each other or providers to each other need to bring their pieces of an overall solution together to bring a complete solution. And this cross-industry aggregation, with the emergence of ecosystems, makes scoping and sizing of this market a much more complex task than for some of the more traditional discrete markets. And the players in each of these areas have quite different views on what they consider to be in or out of their market segmentation, whether that is current or planned. And within this mix of markets and companies participating, we're looking to answer the questions of who is buying, How much are they buying? How much will they spend? And who are the target users? The initial stages of the development of the overall market have tended to focus on IoT platforms and the surrounding technologies. And like other technology-led developments in the past, this has tended to be an IT-led agenda. But we see this as just laying down the core of the infrastructure for the future market. Undoubtedly, a significant market is establishing itself here in the technology companies, but the growth and larger opportunities exist in the wider connected applications that will sit outside and on this infrastructure. In many senses, it's the same way that the commodities of bandwidth or data storage provide a backbone for diverse content services ranging from media streaming to customer engagement services. So our focus is on the emergence of these connected application providers and products and services. That's not to say that we're ignoring all the core infrastructure providers. They are a significant part of the current landscape. But over time, we expect the primary market segmentation to move towards the higher value connected areas. But for meaningful insights, of course, you need a little bit more than just these 9 segments. So now we're going to take a look at what's involved in that further segmentation. The complexity of the IoT supply and value network potentially makes it hard to track the revenue streams and usage transactions and ownership that we can usually measure in more traditional markets. However, the metrics and segmentation required for planning aren't that much different in the context of connected, and this is another good reason for tracking at the connected application level rather than down at the transactional one. So ultimately, we're looking at 3 dimensions of coverage. The competitive view, looking at products and providers and services, the various competitors that form this landscape. The process view, which covers our market areas we've just been looking at, and the use cases that are involved across various industries, across these market areas. And finally, what I'm going to call the usage view. That's who's using it, the personas, the roles that are involved in using these applications, which industries they play in, and which geographies they play in. For our initial market observatory, we've chosen to focus on major IT, OT and enterprise providers across all of our market areas and in major geographies. And Alan will talk later about some of the companies involved, but for now it's worth saying that this is a representative sample across industries. So we've looked at what we're measuring now. Now we're going to briefly look at how we've approached this. We're applying a tried and tested approach that we've used in our other market observatories. We try to bound or box the market by looking at multiple dimensions from different sources. And this essentially tries to balance evidence from the supply side, in this case primarily technology providers, with evidence from the demand side of end users. And we cap this with economic measures and indicators. Within that framework, we research at the level of countries and industries, and for the Connected Applications Observatory, we're also carrying out an extensive review of published case studies. And we're using this as a means to measure both the maturity of the market, but also to find out current areas of focus. So in this very brief journey looking at how to measure the market, we've covered segmentation, we've covered metrics, and the inputs that we use. Now, of course, there is some magic that happens in transforming this into meaningful, consistent results that you can use. So I'm going to conclude now with just a couple of observations from our initial coverage of this market. The first observation is related to an overall growth in the market in the last year. It's around about 40% as we see it, and we see providers maturing their solutions and also businesses realigning and combining their business groups to focus on a more connected offer. And what we're also seeing in that time is a proportionally faster rise in the IT enterprise providers compared with the OT industrial providers. And Alan's going to provide a little bit more commentary in a moment on the IT OT landscape. The second observation I want to share today from our research is the distribution of use cases as revealed by our case study analysis. And as you can see from this chart, asset management and performance management use cases top the list, with connected production and connected assets the most represented of our market areas. The interesting thing is that there's also clear market traction across all of our 9 market areas, including things like connected workers and connected cities, which is a good indicator of the direction of this market. We also have evidence that there's more implementations moving away from what one analyst described as pilot purgatory towards full operational activities. So I'm going to conclude now on my measurement of the market, and over to you, Alan.
Our final speaker today is Alan Griffiths.
Thank you. Now let's talk about how the industrial IoT market is developing and what this means to providers and users. We'll first discuss some of the main providers, their different backgrounds and how they're starting to work together. Then we'll present a maturity matrix which maps out the different types of solution and helps to profile the market. Cambashi regularly meets with leading providers in this industry as well as attending conferences and talking with users. I'd like to mention 3 insights from these discussions that are particularly relevant to our research. The first observation is that several IoT technology providers are experiencing the trough of disillusionment, a term coined by Roy Amara, predicting that a trough often follows a period of hype. In this case, the hype was around IoT and digital transformation, and you've probably heard some of it. The second is that many IT enterprise software and OT industrial automation providers are developing packaged applications that are connected in some way to devices, machines or vehicles. They also provide business value using sensing, analytics and machine intelligence. Our view is that this approach is lifting these providers out of the trough. The third observation is that many industrial automation providers are extending the value of their existing connected technology, such as used in automation systems like MOM, SCADA, etc., by adding IoT-style capability. Our research, guided by the Industry Charter Programme, focuses on 3 groups that offer connected applications and the underlying technology: IoT Enterprise, OT Industrial, and OT Pure Technology. Let's first look at some of the IT enterprise software providers. Most enterprise software companies have strong IoT strategies, and many provide connected applications or technology that allows their existing users to incrementally adopt IoT, for example, as an add-on to an existing business system. Microsoft Azure and Amazon AWS have extensive cloud-based IoT capabilities that provide connectivity and a range of application development capabilities. Oracle has its own cloud network and a stack of IoT technology. It has also incorporated IoT into a range of cloud-based connected applications. SAP has developed the Leonardo IoT platform and uses this to extend its customer solutions and business network. PTC, with its ThingWorx technology, has an extensive IoT development capability and also develops its own connected applications. And Siemens has developed the MindSphere operating system, an IoT platform used to build and deploy IoT solutions, often in partnership with other software providers. Here are some leading industrial automation companies who are leveraging IoT. Many are bigger and older than their IT counterparts, and they often work at factory rather than enterprise level. There are historical reasons for their success in this domain, such as their long-term relationships with the factories and the need for highly reliable, fast and continuous connectivity in manufacturing. GE has a long heritage in industrial automation, from machine controllers to plant automation. GE Digital developed the Predix IoT platform and is now being spun off as an independent $1.2 billion digital automation business. Schneider developed the EcoStruxure system, which is aimed at the buildings, data center and infrastructure markets. Emerson developed the PlantWeb digital ecosystem to enable performance improvements in production, reliability and energy management. And Siemens again appears in this group because it has a long history of providing industrial automation solutions. It recently formed Siemens Digital Industries to focus on transformation in the discrete and process industry. This slide shows some examples of technology and system tool providers. Most of the major semiconductor manufacturers, represented here by ARM and Intel, develop microprocessors or microcontrollers that are used in IoT solutions. For example, ARM develops Cortex-M microprocessors that are widely used in IoT implementations. Connectivity is key to any IoT implementation and is represented here by Cisco. Cisco is strong in edge or fog computing, which is critical to large-scale IoT implementations. And several IT enterprise and OT industrial providers also offer technology or platforms, which is why they are repeated in this group. These three main groups of providers are increasingly working together in an ecosystem to provide solutions to end users. For example, IBM and Bosch are working together in industrial IoT to provide customers with the Bosch IoT suite using IBM's Bluemix and Watson IoT platforms. SAP and Honeywell are to offer integrated solutions combining Honeywell Process Solutions expertise in production planning with SAP's enterprise solutions. And Mitsubishi Electric is using Oracle Cloud Platform to leverage artificial intelligence, IoT and process automation in manufacturing processes. Dassault Systèmes recently announced a major partnership with ABB to develop software for digital industrial solutions based on Dassault's 3DX, PLM and ABB's Ability Automation software portfolio. Rockwell recently announced a major partnership with PTC, where it's investing $1 billion in the company and is using PTC's ThingWorx with its Factory Talk offering. And at the Hannover Messe in April this year, Siemens announced a major open manufacturing collaboration project with Volkswagen using Amazon's AWS platform. Microsoft has a host of relationships with engineering IT, industrial technology and specialist technology companies. For example, PTC and Rockwell have relationships with Microsoft for the Azure Cloud and IoT technology. RTI, a specialist that provides industrial connectivity, and Microsoft are involved in a large project with Siemens Gamesa, the renewable energy company, to streamline and automate how technicians inspect and maintain industrial wind turbines using autonomous drones. In April 2019, Microsoft made a joint announcement with BMW for an open manufacturing platform. I'd now like to talk about how the different levels of IoT technology can be deployed with different degrees of business transformation using a market profile for industrial IoT or a maturity matrix. This chart shows how business solutions can be arranged according to their technological capability along the x-axis and business impact up the y-axis. Each of the 9 boxes in the grid contains practical examples of use cases for which providers have developed applications at that level of maturity. Technological capability ranges from monitoring, where data is simply received from a sensor on a device or thing, to control, where the sensed information, often with the support of analytics, is used to control the device, machine, could be a machine, vehicle or factory, up to autonomy, where the machine or vehicle uses or new ways of interacting with customers, to major business transformation, where businesses undergo radical organizational or technological change to increase profits and growth. It's important to understand that the two factors act independently. For example, a fairly simple technology such as sensing and reporting the location of vehicles can support a major business transformation like that achieved in ride-hailing by Uber and Lyft. And a sophisticated technology can be used for light site production without achieving major business transformation. As the technology in a connected application increases in capability, solutions become more complex and require more development. There will be more possibilities for failure, increased technical risk, so more effort will be needed. And digital transformation programs are required to achieve major business impact. More transformation means more complexity, effort and risk. Let's talk about how different groups of providers are addressed. The top layer, major business transformation, is dominated by the large management consultants. Major business change does require experienced management consultants, although they may use technology from specialists when it comes to implementation. The middle layer, developing new revenue streams and customer experiences, can be provided by a combination of system integrators and enterprise software providers. I'd now like to conclude with some quantitative and then qualitative takeaways. First, let's summarise the quantitative takeaways based on the research data in our IoT Connected Applications Observatory, as illustrated earlier. We've analysed most of the main enterprise and industrial providers of connected applications to estimate the total market, and software growth increased by over 40% from 2017 to 2018. Enterprise portion grew by 65%, compared to 29% for the OT Industrial. This is partly because OT Industrial has a higher initial base, but it is still true to say that IT Enterprise software is making great strides. The picture will become more complicated in future as consolidation and partnerships change the shape of the ecosystem. Now let's summarise some of the qualitative takeaways. IT, OT and tech companies are collaborating. We gave a number of examples of IT enterprise providers working with OT industrials. Also, pure play IoT technology companies are increasingly providing their software platforms through resellers or OEMs. To illustrate the trend towards consolidation, PTC acquired ThingWorx and Kepware, Siemens acquired J2 Innovations, Enlighted and Mendix, Dassault increased its investment in BioSerenity, a firm that connects patients through sensors in clothing, and Microsoft acquired Express Logic as part of uses industry-guided research that helps organizations first to optimize global sales and marketing resources by directing effort to where most value can be gained. Second, to target the most promising geographic areas and industries. Third, to increase sales by orienting products and applications towards key market areas. And fourth, to project their global profile in this program. Now that's the end of this on-demand webinar. So on behalf of all of the presenters, thank you for your time. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, please make contact via our website, www.cambashi.com. We look forward to hearing from you.